This program contains strong language. Let me do it again. Composure. This program contains strong language and scenes of a sexual nature.
You really might get people's hopes up here.
I mean, it kind of does, really. We do use strong language, and we do discuss scenes of a sexual nature.
We discuss them, but we don't.
Oh, no. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's definitely not.
This is what you're after. Please just skip this podcast.
If that's what you're after, you're on the wrong side of the internet, my friend. You need to...
Yeah, and just remember to clear your browser after.
Clear your cache.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that history needs to be out of the window. But welcome back to Literary Just Told You. And for the people watching on YouTube, welcome to our studio. We finally have a studio that works.
That we know how to use.
I think no is probably a bit of a strong use of the word, to be honest.
Or we do something more than just sit there.
Yeah, that is true. Before we were just sitting in the studio until we got outed for doing that. And now I've been shown how to use the studio, and with a few panicked WhatsApps, we're here.
So thank you, Omar and Carl.
Yeah, thank you, Omar and Carl, for really coming through here, because this is top tier, and now we're on YouTube. So if you are just listening, and all of those times we've talked about things that are happening in the studio, you can now go watch us on YouTube and see how much of a shambles we are in the studio.
You really have to be careful now what we do.
Yeah, because the bloopers, I edit out so many. I don't know how good it's going to look now when I start cutting out everything that we mess up. I can't lie.
Getting ready is also going to take longer now because you actually can see everything.
Yeah, these cameras are really a lot more high def than our shitty little webcam. So I might need to start doing like full face attire for this, because these cameras are...
So either sorry or you are welcome.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is how we look like now.
Yeah, this is how we look. So I'm thinking maybe in the editing software there might be a little bit of like airbrush, because after a full working day, not only did I look like I'd been dragged through a hedge backwards, but the makeup is really not looking good at all.
I don't think so. I think you're looking quite radiant.
Thank you. You must have bad eye quality like the webcam.
I really don't think I do. I eat lots of carrots. They're good for eyes.
Okay.
Vitamin A.
They are good for your eyes.
Yeah.
You look very good as well.
Thank you. I do have fresh face.
Yeah, you do have a fresh face. Maybe that's what I need to start doing. We also probably need to start coordinating our outfits more.
Yeah.
Because Olive and I have a very big problem where we're really going to 2 different events every time we film. So we need to start getting better if we're going to be putting this out there.
I'm hearing we can just put it as an business expense.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. We can expense that back to the Literary Just Told You business, which is actually in negative money, but, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. Got to start somewhere. So,
speaking of starting, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we are back again with a book club, our March book club episode, and we read In Her Own League by Liz Tomforde, which was released on the 3rd of March.
Yes.
So this is hot off the press, guys. And if you haven't read it yet, we're about to spoil a new release. So I'm sorry, but, you've had a month. So, clock is ticking. We need to be better. But yeah, so we read In Her Own League. Another reason we chose this was because it was International Women's Day in March. So we really wanted to pick a book that had a very strong female woman in a male-dominated field theme. And the stars just align so perfectly. So we're here to spoil an entire book for you. So if you don't want to do that, maybe leave, but I think you should stay anyway, because it's going to be a really great time.
As always.
Exactly.
So would you like to tell us what In Her Own League is about?
Okay, so In Her Own League is actually a standalone book from the Windy City series by Liz Tomforde, which is sports romance, if you didn't know. If you don't know,
all of them are.
You need to get to know as well. It's not that we don't stand for not knowing Liz Tomforde around here. But it essentially follows Monty, who is... What's her name? Miller. Miller's dad from Caught Up, and it follows Reese, who is the owner of the baseball team. She appears in Play Along, which is Isaiah and Kennedy's book, and this takes place after that book. So in between Play Along and Rewind It Back is when this is set, and yeah, it follows Miller's dad, which is very exciting.
That's all?
Well, I mean, there's obviously way more to add, but please share everything I missed.
So who is Reese? Reese is the owner of the baseball team that Monty coaches. And it's a big thing because there is no female team owners in the league. She's also relatively young because she's only 35. And the way she comes to be the team owner is for her grandpa, who was the team owner previously.
Yeah.
So she's basically just like a full of controversy, her taking over because of nepotism, because of her being young, and obviously her being a female.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this aside, Monty does not get on with her initially. They have completely different ways of running things, and they both despise each other. They both have this sort of assumptions about each other that then we will see they're gonna have to put to test and maybe or maybe not change their minds.
And fall in love and live happily ever after, just like all good romance books. So what was your first impression of Reese? Because we get introduced... Do we want to talk about our first impression of her from the rest of the series, or do we want to treat this book fully standalone? Because I think there are maybe two different experiences of her depending on where you meet her first. So how do we want to play this? Because it is technically a standalone.
It technically is, but I think it jumps right in though.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we are set.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say your first impression of Reese is?
That she is very standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't have many interactions with her through either Kennedy or Isaiah.
Yeah.
Initially. And yeah, just maybe tough.
Mm-hmm.
Because she knows what she's up against. She's obviously up against the whole bloody system that we live in.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like very self-assured. Just like I might elaborate on it later, but very cliche boss babe vibes.
That was a very polite boss babe.
Yeah.
I like your not use of strong language. So I'm going to go in and say it. She's just the boss bitch.
Yeah.
When we meet her in Play Along, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, right at the start, boss bitch. But then I also feel like you really get a taste of kind of the softer side of her character when it comes to Kennedy, because of everything that happens in that book with Kennedy, and Reese is so supportive of her that I think you do get glimpses of like there's more kind of behind her exterior. I think that is kind of hinted at in Play Along, that she wants to change things for the better, and she does come across a bit harsh, but everything like deep down it's all really, really like good intentions, and she wants what's actually best, which is why she gets rid of that like horrible doctor in Play Along.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you meet her for the first time in her own league, she maybe comes off even more like
vulnerable.
Boss bitch at the very, very start.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
But then maybe, I don't know, I suppose because you're getting her point of view, you see a bit more behind that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like because for me it's just kind of obvious.
Yeah.
That she will be soft later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, if we had to compare someone who was showing like as tough.
Yeah.
And then kind of stayed tough. For example, for me it was Miller. Obviously she had this vulnerable side.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was that, because everyone does, do you know what I mean? But I don't think that was that, she liked being tough. And that was like her personality as a person. I know it sounds stupid, but for example, Reese, for me, she was tough when it came to business.
Yeah.
So she had like a switch up.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Okay, and then what did you think of her, obviously that's like her character, but what do you think of her actual physical description?
Yeah.
And how different she is compared to the typical romance FMC? How does that contribute to her character?
Well, to be honest, I'm going to actually get back to that in a second, but I just personally, like, I do think this representation is very important for people who read books and they can never imagine, like, you know, they always have to read about small, but because, yeah, Reese is described as a woman who is size 16, 18, and it's also in American, so I think it's even bigger than UK 16, 18.
Yes,
I believe.
I think it is.
Yeah, so because they start with like size 0, where UK, one of the smallest was like 6 or something.
I think like a 0 in America is like a 4 UK. So I think a 4 is an 8. So I think it's about two sizes, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, sorry, I switched off. I'm blue screened. Yes, I think it's really important as well that it's said explicitly.
Yeah.
Because it probably is tiring to read about, and for me as well, you know, when they are always just small and petite and little and just easy to toss around and all of that. And they always have like, you know, small tits that just like fit perfectly in the hand because this is like, this is the, how would you say it? This is the revolution that we don't sexualize big breasts anymore, but just the little ones. And this is, you know, like, it's like body positivity done.
Yeah.
So, so I enjoyed that. And I think it also came with like apart from the representation itself, I think also the fact that it was established multiple times, for example, how polished she is. And it was obviously to kind of emphasize on this hard exterior and this being put together. But at the same time, I think it's also really important when in terms to body type that you can look attractive like that. You should find clothes in your size. Yeah. You should wear things that complement you. And also this is just like breaking this stigma that people who are bigger, they are lazy or they don't exercise or they don't take care of themselves. Like sometimes you just look the way you look and you're happy with it.
Yeah. I think I really liked that it was part of her character description, but it wasn't her character.
Yeah.
I think that was really quite different to a lot of other books because I think a lot of times when you read about these characters who don't fit the stereotype, it is part of their personality and they go through this, I don't know, this narrative of like, so for example, I'm just thinking of Stevie in Mile High.
Yeah.
It was way more tied to her character and she has all this inner turmoil about the way she looks and she goes through this whole thing with Xander's where she's really insecure about her size and like that's part of her character.
Yeah.
And whilst I think that's obviously like very accurate how some people feel and whatever, but I think it was really good to read about a character who is not the stereotype but is like completely comfortable, completely confident, like, and it doesn't become her character. It's not who she is. Like that's literally just what she looks like. And I think the difference between her character and Stevie, as an example, their worlds completely like worlds apart. And I think what the author has done to write a woman character who is bigger, but it's not a point of her character, like personality wise, I think is really like hats off to her because I think that's a really, really positive thing for body positivity.
Yeah.
Because it's not a defining character of her.
And she never really even mentions that.
No.
I look X, Y, and Z, but I'm okay with it, anything like that.
Yeah, no. She doesn't even think
Another
about
example
it.
of this is as well when you said it was Wild Card.
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
When there was also the whole debacle about her looking a certain way.
Yeah. But it's nice for someone to look that way and just be.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be part of their personality. She doesn't need to get this validation from the male main character. It's literally like she looks this way, he finds her attractive, like end of. There doesn't need to be this huge justification. And while I appreciate that message is important, I think sometimes like the over justification is almost backfiring on like the message that you're trying to give out there with body positivity. So I think that she has done an incredible job with that and it just felt really natural as well.
Yeah.
And it meant that other parts of her personality could really shine through because it's just a fact, like she's a bigger woman, like the same way your hair is brown, like your hair is brown, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just is. So I really thought that was quite an important.
Yeah, and I think it also just adds to the fact that her like just self-assured part, because I think if we again made her this skinny woman, this would also, I don't think, I also like that basically with her body as well, she was taking space.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, there was just so many things that she was, like so many stereotypes that she was breaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it fits with that she's doing something that men don't like, also with not fitting into the canon of beauty as well. She's obviously attractive, she's very put together, and obviously Emmett Fox attractive, and then there is someone else who, like Harrison's friend says, oh, she's fit and stuff, but she's not this like icon of lust that everyone would follow.
Yeah, she disrupts a lot of stereotypes.
Yeah.
But I think it's done very naturally.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think the way that Monty interacts with it as well, he's not constantly talking about it as well, because I also think that can happen a lot in books where a woman is not the stereotypical like image of beauty that's out there. It then becomes a common talking point of the male main character to almost like, it almost feels like it's overcompensating, if you know what I mean. Whereas this just felt so natural, which I thought was really good. Like the scene where they're in the gym and she comes in her like sports bra and stuff, and he's like, yeah, she looks so good, like I love it, and I lift heavy for a reason, kind of thing. And then that was it. There wasn't like this over...
Yeah. But also another thing that I liked is when, for example, usually we have a female character who's bigger, she's always described as curvy, and her curves this and her curves that and stuff. And then like he didn't have that either. Obviously he did say her curves X, Y, and Z, but at the same time, for example, he also was saying, oh, she's soft all over, for example.
Yeah.
And that's also a completely different description of, like, again, sexualizing that.
Yeah. And that just reminded me here as well, as you said, they're always talking about, like, curves and, like, their boobs and their hips and stuff. But in this, and this is something that I think a lot of women feel insecure about, is, like, there was a mention of like her tummy
being the gym,
like, like being soft and like having a little bit of overhang or whatever in her like tight leggings, and I think that's something that just doesn't really come up, but that's like a natural thing of being like a bigger person. So
I'm just like a normal person, like when you sit down also like your tummy just like rolls and stuff.
So I think that was and it just felt natural, like it didn't feel like it was trying too hard, which I liked a lot, because I think sometimes in these books where they're trying to, obviously it all comes from a good place, but when you're trying to push body positivity, it's like you're trying too hard that it almost feels a bit disingenuous.
Yeah, but as you say, now you said it also came to me that apart from the fact that you make it a character's personality that they are bigger, then it also, I think, propagates this notion of man has to fix you. Man has to tell you are beautiful for you to start believing you're beautiful. And I'm not gonna lie, it obviously helps when you have someone who just accepts you completely and cherishes the ground you walk on. But again, that's not exactly the message. You are supposed to find this like self-acceptance within yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So now that we discussed a bit of Reese, what would you say about Monty? Because obviously we also met him a little bit more in the past books. Do you think that it added a bit of depth to his character, or do you think we got enough from this book alone?
To be honest, I don't think much was like built on his character that's not already shown in the other books, in my opinion, because you get a lot of his backstory with Miller in Caught Up, and then you obviously see how he deals with Kai and Isaiah and Max and everything in those two books. So I don't think that much more was like given from his character that hadn't already. He's just a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just such a sweet man. I think we get a bit more depth from him, from like his point of view of what happened when Miller was a kid, but it was kind of a repetition of what we already knew, I think, as a reader. So it was nice to hear the words come from his mouth again. Yeah. I think he does say it in Miller's book about, when she's feeling insecure, that she needs to like do something with her life because she needs to prove that he didn't give
sacrifice
up.
For nothing,
And I think he has that conversation with her in that book. So I don't think that we gained more from him than we already knew, to be honest. But I love him.
Do you think it took away from certain things that we knew a little bit about him?
Yeah, I think the only downside of already knowing that about him is obviously at the start they're supposed to be not like enemies, but they're supposed to not get on. And that's quite hard to read her perceive Monty that way when we already know him so well.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there's supposed to be like this kind of bantery back and forth, but because we already know like he's such a sweetheart, it kind of lost a bit of the bite.
Yeah,
if
like
you know
the
what
suspense,
I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, and a bit of like the banter was kind of lost on me, I think, a little bit, because we already know him to be like such a sweet man.
Yeah.
But I think if you read it as a standalone, then maybe you might have a slightly different perception of him at the very start, because obviously she doesn't really like him that much.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
I think the only thing that for me it took away from is where obviously she has this assumption, which again I don't think it came across loud enough, that she has this assumption of him kind of bossing people around, because she mentions, oh, you had my grandpa like wrapped around your finger like a couple of times, but apart from that there is not really much that supports it until she goes through the budget and says, oh, Miller's daughter, Monty's daughter was the nanny.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. That's the only time when we actually find out what's her problem with him.
Yeah.
Because we never explicitly know that. We just know from Isaiah's book that they don't get on, but it's never really said why exactly. And then I think the moment where she sees a crack through her assumptions of him is when he tells her that he's not actually Miller's dad.
Yeah.
This is something that we knew already. So I think if we went through this shock with Reese, that would be more powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I think also because the other thing that really like turns her opinion of him is when she finds out that he paid for those things out of his own wage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would have had more impact if, as a reader, we like, so for example, when I found that out, that didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh, can't believe this man just did all that, like, because he is already portrayed as such a caring father and just such a caring coach. He literally sees these men as his like family.
Yeah.
And so that didn't surprise me at all. Like I kind of expected that to happen. So it didn't have the impact of like softening us up as a reader, because we already had those feelings towards him.
Yeah. I feel like it was a bit that Reese was left out from the party, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That it's very much, that she is kind of catching up with the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
It was also quite interesting experience to have more information as a reader than the character.
Yeah.
That you already know something.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that does make it lose a little bit of impact, I think. But I'd be interested to know what people who haven't read the series thought about that, because...
Well, Rachel didn't.
Yeah, Rachel hasn't, and Charlotte also, I don't think she's read them. So I would be interested to know, like, were they surprised when they found that out? Because for me, I was like, well, of course he did. Like, he's literally an angel sent from heaven to take care of these baseball players and his daughter and literally everyone around him. He's literally like a guardian angel personified. Like, of course he's done that, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe I need to stop, what's the word? When you like idolize someone. There's a word. Don't worry about it.
Cherish?
No, not cherish.
They put him on a pedestal?
Yeah, I've kind of got him on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And I had him on a pedestal before I read it.
Okay.
So, like,
so that just
very,
like the
very
pedestal
much.
is solidified now, basically.
Oh yeah, he is top tier as like a human being. I wouldn't be able to pick a flaw in his character.
What would you say about their dynamic, Reese and Monty? Do you think like this about what do you think about this dislike? Do you think they had chemistry from the get-go? Do you think everything like developed at the right pace, and how did it play with the boundaries that they had to set for themselves?
Okay, so maybe I'm toxic, but maybe I'm a bit toxic, but I think I could have done with a little bit more like back and forth and angst at the start, because I think they got over that quite quickly. Like we shifted from dislike to banter like very quickly, and then after that it was just, it was inevitable anyway, but I would have liked to see a little bit more of that like angsty, fiery annoyance with each other a little bit more, because I feel like he was flirty from the get-go, is how I read his interaction with her. Like he didn't like her because he thought she was being like cutthroat and not thinking about the importance of the dynamic of the players, and she was just looking at like money on a screen. But I don't think his dislike towards her came off strong enough, in my opinion, because I feel like it still came across that he was attracted to her. And I think when I want dislike, I don't want you to tell me that you think they're attractive. Yeah. I want that to like come later, because I think that should come more from finding out more about their character, because I think that has more impact. So I think at the start I would have preferred a little bit more angst between them, and also from her as well. I would have liked a bit more, but I think it's hard from her point of view, because as a reader I think he's an angel. So I'm like, how do you not like this man? Every reason she had to not like him, I was like, girl, you're missing something. Like, I knew that already, that she was. Whereas I think if we didn't know him, reading her point of view of like, oh, he took advantage of my granddad, like doing whatever he wants, thinking that like his shit doesn't stink, like blah, 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 then I think that, I don't know, I think the tension and chemistry would have felt a little bit better than it did at the start. So the pacing for me was slightly off because it was earned too quickly, which meant
like
we didn't get the payoff as much.
Yeah, like when we get to the there's only one bed in the room. Of the hotel where the AC is broken. I was just like, that's so quick, and this is just so inappropriate in so many levels. Yeah. It's not even cute, as you say, like we don't really, it's just like a complete switch, I agree. But also I think, now I think about it, that it was quite difficult to portray this dislike when we try to send a message that she's supposed to be this woman in power. Mm-hmm. Because, for example, if the roles were switched, which I want to elaborate on later, but if, for example, a woman wasn't listening to a man and he was in position of power, we would think about it as cute, or that she's so tough and that she's so strong-minded and strong-willed and stuff, and that, you know, she doesn't have to listen to him. Whereas when the roles are switched, and like this conflict usually comes from that as well, when they don't get on in the professional setting, or, you know, for example, he tells her not to do something, she does it anyway, and she has this great idea and she saves the whole company, and he's like, oh my god, she's so smart. Yeah. But when we switch those around, he just looks like a dickhead. So I think that was also really, really tricky to keep this dislike on professional level only. Yeah, I agree, it is difficult, but like when, for example, when she tells him to fire this video coach, and he's like, no, I'm just like, you're really not doing what you think this is doing. Like, she tells you to do something. This is not a pissing contest. I was just getting so annoyed with him. Yeah. And I knew it's going to be something that she recommended him to some, like, you know. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, come on now. Yeah. So I think it moved just slightly too quick, but I appreciate it's quite a difficult task, because as a reader, like, these are I would imagine the audience is predominantly women, so there was only so much of the boundary that Emmett could push without turning a whole audience against him. Like, we still needed to perceive him as a good person, so I suppose that makes sense why there couldn't be too much angst, because it probably would have gone too far to, like, redeem. Yeah. But, yeah. Especially when we knew him before, so, like, the groundwork was already done. We don't need to see his... But yeah, I think it was a bit quicker than her other books, I think. Slightly less, like, tension of where I'm like, God, like, when are they finally, you know what I mean? Like, it was slightly more of a, I don't know the word, like, words are escaping me today. It just wasn't as earned. Whereas when, like, Miller and Kai got together, I was literally, like, chomping at the bit, like, oh my God, like, just get together already. Whereas, like, with this, I was like, oh, they're together already. Yeah. You know? So that was a bit fast for me, but, you know. For me, it was also just really annoying when they kept doing something and then they were like, oh, it's never going to happen again. I'm like, after the second time, you can just, you know, go with it. Yeah. So that was a bit tiring as well. But do you think this dynamic as well might have come from the fact that they are a bit older and more mature as characters? Because obviously, usually when we read those romance books, they are either in the in the 20s, or at, you know, the latest is early 30s. Where, like, here, Reese is halfway through her 30s. Monty is obviously a bit older. Mm-hmm. Do you think that maybe this also was the reason for that such a quick development? Because they just know more what they want, and there is no, for example, this insecurity. This is just more about the other person, and, like, let's go for it.
Yeah, I think especially from him anyway.
Yeah.
I think he was the main driving factor of how quick it was, because I think obviously he went through grief, spent like 20 years alone, and then he sees this woman and he really likes her and he's like, well, I really like you. Like, there's no question, there's no games, there's no anything. It's like, I want you, so I'm going to be with you. And there was nothing actually holding him back at all in any way whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but obviously with her, she was more hesitant, but I think she knew she really liked him, and that's why she kept obviously going back.
Yeah.
So there's less of the angel and the devil on their shoulders, like convincing them all the reasons why they shouldn't, if you know what I mean. Like, they were all in.
Yeah. What would you say, would you have anything else to add about the age? Like, when did it become evident? Like, did you catch yourself sometimes thinking, oh yeah, they are older than the other characters?
I think for Monty, yes. But to be honest, with both of them, I do think yes, because they're so self-assured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they do just come across as older because they're both just so confident. They know what they want. They're not playing games. Their thought process is just very different to the other characters based on where they are in their life. Like, and a lot of the struggle they have isn't relating to what they're doing with their life.
Yeah.
Whereas with Miller, for example, like, a lot of her character is surrounding, like, needing to prove herself and needing to do all these things for a very noble reason, but not because that's what she actually wants, which is obviously a lot, like, younger mindset. So I think it comes more from that they seemed older because they were just so, like, wow, you just know what you want and you go after it, and they're not, like, second guessing, and you know what I mean?
There was this no internal turmoil.
Yeah, they just know what they want and they're going after it. So
it was
I think
purely about them, basically.
Yeah.
The relationship, not
their,
exactly.
Like,
character's journey, yeah.
Yeah. Did you pick up on age a lot? Or
I had something and it slipped my mind just now. I think with Monty it was quite difficult because he's always been in my head the age he is. So I didn't have, like a whoa. Also the age difference between them, we don't really know exactly what it is, but it wasn't as crazy that it was, again, like a point of the relationship that it was being mentioned all the time.
Yeah.
With her, the only thing that I thought of was, like, I agree with everything you said, that they just seemed very self-assured, so that and this was the main difference between the them and the younger characters. The only thing that I was thinking of was kind of in the terms of future of the relationship, if they will have children, because her age would be one of the factors that would determine that, I think, in terms of feasibility.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if we met her when she was 40-something, then the chances are less likely that they would go, that the book would go in this direction at any point. Whereas this 35 was kind of like a verge, and obviously because she already went through one relationship that wasn't successful, and because she saw Monty interact with children and, like, having the family himself and stuff, so that was the only thing that I think the age influenced for me, apart from everything you mentioned. That makes sense. Yeah.
I think the kid thing, it was addressed, but I feel like maybe it could have been addressed slightly sooner.
Yeah,
possibly.
I mean,
there was, because I don't know. Maybe this is just me, but I just had this really weird thought, like, because men can obviously just keep going forever. She's obviously still, like, peak fertility is, and then I just had this thought, like, oh my god, what if they had a kid and then Max is, like, his grandkid, but his grandkid is, like, older than his actual kid.
Yeah.
And, like, whoa.
He has a younger uncle, whoa.
Yeah. I had that thought for a split second, and I was like, no, we can't be having that. We can't be having a grandchild. We can't, no, Matt, no.
The factory's closed now.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think it's kind of nice that they both didn't have children, like, biologically. Yeah. Because I also think, I don't know, like, how I would have felt about Monty then going on to have, like, a biological child, because I think that having non-biological children is such an important message in his book, in Miller's book, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he even says it, doesn't he, where she asks him, would you like to have more children? And he said, I'm so grateful you say it like that. Yeah. Instead of asking, would I like to have a child of my own? Yeah. Yeah, so I think it made sense. Yeah. Also, like that it was addressed, and there's no Obviously we had the same thing with Kennedy and Isaiah, that they decide not to have any.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite happy that it was also addressed here, that they were just so content with themselves.
Yeah.
Because again, it's just, I don't know. Obviously you can then leave it for interpretation later if it's not explicitly mentioned, but I think, again, for the whole reasons why this book had, I'm not gonna say it was groundbreaking, it wasn't, but for all the stereotypes that it tries to break, I'm glad that it also followed through with this one, that no, you don't have to find a man that will now teach you the value of love, and you will completely do 180
Yeah.
and will try to change everything about yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that was quite consistent with it.
Yeah, and it all just feels really natural. I feel like everything that Liz Tomforde writes into her books of these messages that she's trying to put out there always just feels so natural to me. Like, it's not forced, it's not like overly done to the point where it feels disingenuous. She doesn't write epilogues that aren't in line with what she wrote in the main body of the book. Like, just everything she does is so well executed.
Yeah.
In like every single way, which, I don't know how I'm going to wait till the next series, because she just has such a way with words.
Both characters have a lot to lose professionally. At what point did you think that the romance was worth the risk?
Well, I think for Monty it was always worth the risk.
Yeah.
Because also, like, I think he's in his late 40s.
Mm-hmm.
He has always, like, he didn't give up, but I mean, he did. He gave up his baseball career to be a dad.
Yeah.
And then he obviously became a coach, and then this relationship came to him. And because he'd already kind of sacrificed his career as a player, and that turned out so well, I think for him, there is no risk, because he's just the type of person that's just willing to give up those things for the people he loves, and he really prioritizes family and stuff. So for me, that was never a risk. And also, like, realistically, as the man in this situation, in the real world examples, like, it does tend to be the woman that is the one that
takes the
kind of falls on the sword, if you know what I mean. So for him, really, there's no risk for two reasons, because one, he's her subordinate, and two, he's like got the societal benefit in this situation of being the man, when it does tend to be the woman that gets a lot more of like the stigma and like the outrage and whatever. So for him, I don't think it was ever really a risk to his career. And as I said, he was just the character that kind of gives it up. I think for her, it was always like a huge risk. I think even right up until the end, it was always going to be a risk, just because of like who she is and the position she's in, and it's already on very unstable ground and constantly having to prove herself. Like, it was a risk right until the end, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I don't know at what point like she turned, because that's kind of kept from you as a reader.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for me, I think it was always worth the risk between them, because I think they're a really good couple together, and obviously, like, they're both amazing, so they're both worth that risk. But I don't know at what point for her it turned, because I don't know. If I was in like her shoes, I'd be so scared the whole time about like literally losing everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for her it turned in the elevator. That was like a first crack.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but then again, she says, "Oh, it can never happen again." And then they have this moment in the gym, and she says the same thing. So
yeah,
I found it a little bit annoying, because as you say, there was not really a clear point where we can confidently say that, oh, this is where she said, Oh, I want to say about the age thing. So I think the one of the examples where we can see this age coming to the surface is at the end, when they have this conversation before the board meeting, and he says to her after, and he has this like weird vibes, and says, oh, what if she's gonna break up with me? And then he asks her the next day about it. And she says, oh, I would never break up with you. And I think this is so different, because in all those other books, there's always this notion of I have to break up with him/her to protect them.
Yes. Oh my God, that is so true. Like, so true.
Yeah. And then she says, no, why would I do that?
Yeah.
I know what I want. And I think this is one of the things. And I love it so much, because it's my pet peeve when they do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think this is where...
And also him, like, taking her at her word is so grown up.
Yeah.
Because, as you said in other books, if she'd said no, like, we would have had a whole chapter of listening to his, like, internal monologue about, like, oh, no, but, like, blah, 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 like, all this rubbish.
Yeah.
But he literally just accepted, like, that was her answer, and that is true.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, he just fully trusted that what she was saying is what she meant. And, yeah, that is literally such a breath of fresh air. Thank God.
What did you think of switching up the dynamic where it was the female main character who was in charge?
I loved it.
Thank you.
That's it. End of episode. I loved it. I thought it was so good. And, I sound like such a fangirl. But again, like, Liz Tomforde just wrote it in a way that was so natural. Like, I honestly have no complaints about the way that was written. And I loved it because it didn't feel forced or, like, overly in your face. Like, it was just incredible. I have no notes. There is nothing I would change about it. Period.
Okay.
What
Thank
do you have it? What are your notes?
No, for me, I agree that it was very natural, and something that I really liked was that Monty never, for example, mentioned anything about his masculinity and how it could be threatened. Not because he would even think that it can be, but that he didn't even think, like, that it wasn't even said, or obviously I don't feel less masculine because X, Y, and Z. I'm masculine behind closed doors, something like that. I really enjoyed that as well. That it wasn't just this weird thing, because why bring it up? That's the whole point, that you are supposed to be equal. She's doing this job because she's qualified for this job. Yeah. And that he was just very considerate of the risks outside that she can take, and that despite the attraction as well, he never lost touch with his own gut and with his own expertise. That when they got to this board meeting, and I know that they are not that close together then, but he still, even though she is the one who asked him to come there, he doesn't again feel the need to pay back and agree with her just for the sake of it. Yeah. Speaking about the board, I really have to say it, I'm really sorry, but when there's this last scene, and she says that Ed just sits there and smiles quietly. I realize Ed said fucking one sentence throughout the whole book. Every board meeting. Also, Ed appears only once in the lounge, like in the box, in the owner's box, and never anywhere else. And I'm just like, oh my God.
He's just an NPC.
Yeah, literally. When you walk up to him, he might have a quest for you.
Yeah, but there's nothing going on. And then you talk to him and he just has like a preset, like 3 responses. Yeah. Like, you know, have you watched Jumanji? Yeah. You know when they go in and he tries to talk to the guy? Yeah. And he's like, welcome to Jumanji, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, oh my God, like, you need to help me, blah, blah. And he's like, welcome to Jumanji. Yeah. And that is Ed. Yeah. Ed is welcome to Jumanji. He has just like, this is good for the cameras. He has just like a couple of smiles. This is proud smile. This is like the, oh my God, how do you say it? This is like a bit, oh my God, what's the word? Like when you feel sorry for someone. Like sympathetic. Sympathetic smile. This is his annoyed smile. Yeah, that was Ed. That was literally all he did. And then, thank you for going out with my son. Thank you for the tickets. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, and but also at the same time, she kept mentioning him so many times. I thought he will betray her at some point. Yeah, he seemed like he was going to be way more serious. He was just there. Yeah, he was just someone to fill the seat on the table. Yeah, but yeah, to go back to what you were saying before about their dynamic, this is one thing I really wanted to talk about, is that in a lot of like these books and just in media in general, there's a lot of things about like the woman doing everything for herself, and I think sometimes it can kind of become a bit extreme of like you can't accept help or whatever, and that makes you not an independent woman because you've like accepted a man's help or blah 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 blah. But I thought what she wrote here, please hold caller, I'm just finding the highlight. There was 2 things actually. Please bear with me, caller. Oh, so she says to him, and I think this is just it to a T, and I really liked that she included this. So Reese said, You make me feel safe enough that when I'm around you, I can take off my armor, even when I have to continue wearing it around everyone else. When I'm with you, you allow me to shut off my brain because it feels safe enough to know that everything will be taken care of and I don't have to be the one to handle it. I just thought that just like chef's kiss, like clap, like that is it.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't mean that she is not like a strong woman because she has accepted help, and like that doesn't diminish the fact that she is incredibly capable and she is really independent. And I really appreciated that being said, because I think sometimes we can get into this thing where you're trying so hard to be like this strong independent woman that you then won't accept help because you feel, or people make you feel, that takes away from the fact that you are like a strong woman. So I thought that was articulated really well. And then he said to her in a couple of chapters later, which I also highlighted because I think this is also important from like a man's point of view when they're in relationships with like these independent, like very strong, like willed women, very determined, driven women. He said to her, and to make this clear, I don't do things for you because I don't think that you can do them for yourself. I do them because I want to, and because you should know what it feels like to be taken care of. And I think that as well is just that's just such a perfect way of putting it, because just because someone offers you help, it's not a negative thing and they don't think that you're not capable. And I think that she represented that really clearly, because I do think sometimes that when you have these very, very strong women, they can feel like they can't accept help because it detracts from the fact that they are like independent. And I also think from the man's point of view, sometimes when you offer help, you might think like, oh, it's not because I don't think you're capable. You know, I think you're really fucking capable, but like that doesn't mean I don't want to help you and I don't want to be there for you. So I think that was really articulated very well in this book, and I really appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, I think, again, it also just comes from the age and he also knows that this is not his first rodeo, it's not his first relationship where he has to take care of someone, that, like, he knows that this is how you show your love and appreciation. He's just also so secure in his own personality that he knows that this is not something that will be taken the wrong way. Yeah.
So I, as an acts of service girl, that honestly just, like, spoke to me so much because... Yeah, like, I like to do things for other people, but I also, I like people doing things for me too, I'm not gonna lie. But, so it was nice to have it explained in a way that makes sense, because sometimes I find it hard to, like, explain that to other people or, like, understand it yourself sometimes. So, but I think she explained it really well there, and I think that ticked a lot of boxes for me, and I liked that a lot. So, again, Liz Tomforde, I love you. Love your work. Keep writing forever, because if you have no fans left, just know that I'm dead and I'm not in this world anymore.
Now make it a little bit less pleasant. Let's talk about the struggles that Reese had to face in terms of her trying to fulfill her role. Do you think they were portrayed quite accurately? Do you think they were a bit downplayed or overplayed, over-exaggerated? How do you think also those conflicts that were created in the story, how do you feel about resolving them?
So I think the struggles themselves are very well portrayed. I think particularly her internal turmoil and like her own feelings about her own struggles, I think that was really, really well portrayed. Like, because I think a lot of women go through that, so it was really good to read, you know, in like another woman's head that she has those feelings. I also think, I mean, it's hard for me to say because, you know, I don't own a baseball team and I'm not in front of the constant scrutiny of the press as to, you know, how bold they are in day-to-day life. I mean, I'm sure, like, obviously it does happen. I don't know to what extreme in those, like, public spaces that it does, to the extent that it happened to her, obviously, because, you know, these people in the press were like, they weren't worried about getting cancelled, like, at all. Whereas I think in real life, in 2026, like, okay, there are probably a lot of people behind those cameras that think those things or want to say those things or whatever. But, you know, with, like, social media and, like, people actually caring and, you know, they would get cancelled. So they probably don't do it to the extreme that it happened in the book outwardly. But I think it is important in, like, in books and stuff to put that outwardly because it reflects internally. And, like, obviously in the book, it's from her point of view. So we can't know if that Jerry with the camera over there is actually thinking sexist things because it's a book.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite hard to portray that without them outwardly doing it. So it's hard to say, but I think it was very well. I think she did a very good job at portraying like how women in power feel or are made to feel, and women that are in like male dominated spaces, how they like feel and cope with that in their day to day. But yeah, I think obviously in books, I think you do naturally have to be a bit more like explicit with your meaning, because we're not in every single character's head to know exactly what they're thinking. So I think probably in the real world, it's slightly more inside these people's heads, and it expresses in a slightly different way in the real world than it does in books. But I mean, the concept is still the same. The intentions are still the same.
You see, I think it was a bit downplayed. I wanted a bit more bloodbath. I think we were off to a good start with this interview.
Yes.
When they were asking her those inappropriate questions. Then how people were speaking to her at those meetings, I feel like it opened up very well. But then, for example, when she traded Harrison and was all about those comments online and all of that, I don't think we got enough of that.
Yeah.
We knew there were bad comments, but what were they? One accurate thing about it was, and I know it might sound hypocritical as a girl with a microphone having a podcast, but why those men with microphones think they know everything when Emmett is listening to this guy on the podcast, and I'm just like, oh, this is so fucking accurate. Just a guy talking about things he doesn't have any idea of and just runs his mouth. Yeah, so I think that was very accurate. But apart from that, and I also feel like it was kind of dwindling down as well as we went on.
Yeah, I mean,
we knew it was a struggle because it kept being repeated.
Yeah,
but
I think what's really hard in this situation is I agree with your point of it being downplayed because it kind of fizzled, but I think it's a really hard line to walk because of the fact that she obviously wants Emmett to be an incredibly like aware and supportive character, and the men on the team to also be really aware and supportive characters, and like they weren't just support, like they were explicitly supportive of her to the media, to the press. So I think that made it feel less severe when in like because obviously a baseball team is huge. She had so much male support that I suppose that kind of counteracted what she was going through with the media. But in like maybe more in like real life, people are less confident to like exert opinions on like social and like political matters. So in the real world, like a lot of more people probably would have stayed a lot more quiet and like about it and just not said anything in either direction.
Yeah.
So then obviously the negative comments feel a lot harder to deal with in the real world than they do in this book world, where she's got the whole team outwardly supporting her to the press, and she had Emmett as well. So that also probably made it feel slightly less...
like a bubble.
Yeah, like it probably made it feel slightly less severe because she was kind of protected in that sense, I guess.
Something that also I struggled with a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for women in power, and this team should have been fair and square from the very beginning, and there was absolutely no question regarding that. But something I really struggled with was that there was... I don't know baseball, so that's also maybe why. But I think there was a lot of emphasis on she wanted the team because it was her dream. She wanted the team because it was her happy place. But at the same time, I don't think there was a lot about her actually loving the game. That makes sense. We only have this mention about when she scouted Milo. But that's it. And I feel like I would like to see that more, because that would be, again, contributing to this breaking stereotypes. Because, again, she would be a very attractive, not very athletic, or at least not very aesthetically looking woman, very girly girl who gets her hair cut regularly, who gets her nails done regularly, but still likes a male-dominated sport, and she actually is like just passionate about the game, and I didn't feel that enough.
Yeah.
That was just about the sport. It was about the team itself and about managing the team itself and like making a history with the team, but not about baseball itself.
Yeah.
So I would like to see more of that.
Yeah.
If I had any remarks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Right. Let's talk about the ending.
Yeah.
Before final.
Are we talking ending? Or are we talking epilogue?
We're talking ending, like the boardroom, her firing everyone. I really want to talk about the ending because it's very different to a lot of other romance books. So talk to me about how you found the ending? Did you find it predictable? Was it what you expected? Or is there anything in there that actually surprised you?
No, I knew she's going to come up with some sort of legal crook to make sure that Emmett has a job and she has a job and all of that is sorted. I knew there was going to be something going on. But something that really bothered me was that she fired them without blink of an eye, basically, and she didn't fire them earlier. And that annoyed me, because at least if, for example, she said, literally, I don't know, for example, so obviously Scott is blackmailing her.
Yes.
So if, let's say, she couldn't have fired them before because of some contract obligations, and she would have to pay them up a lot of money, let's say.
Yeah.
And if we combined this with what she did at the end, which is Scott is getting no money because he broke the contract. So if she, for example, said, oh, okay, Tim is having financial trouble because Scott fucked up and we can now break his contract fair and square, I have money to pay you bastards off, so there's a check, there's the door. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What didn't feel that way. Obviously, she gave them money because she basically said, oh, because I'm a good person and that's what I should do. But this seemed like there was no obstacle when they to fire them, actually.
Yeah.
So that really, I was just like, that really frustrated me.
But I suppose that probably came more from like the middle of the book, that there wasn't like necessarily a clear reason as to why she couldn't just get rid of them from the start.
Yeah.
Like maybe that was lacking in the middle. But were you like happy with how that wrapped up, or just no because you wish she did it sooner?
No, I'm happy that it went the way it did.
Yeah.
Because I mean, get them out. I was actually thinking about it because obviously Scott was the biggest piece of shit, and we knew from the start that something is going to happen with him and that he's going to be the one who will stir the pot. But I didn't know what she's going to do with the other ones.
Yeah.
So I'm also glad that they got the boot out.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say, I was really pleasantly surprised at the end. And that's not because I wasn't expecting their happy ending. Like, obviously, she was going to keep working there. Like, but normally in these books, they end with one of them making a sacrifice for the other. Like, that's just quite a common format. Like, one of them will leave the company and go somewhere else, or one of them does whatever so the other one can flourish. And I was half expecting something like that. So I was really happy that that wasn't the case, and neither of them had to sacrifice anything. And because I thought that was really refreshing, because I feel like in those workplace romances that I've read before, one person always has to give something up. Like they can't just live their dream how it's supposed to be. So I thought that was very different compared to other workplace romances that I read, and I thought that was really a positive ending, that it was nice. Like, no, you can have a happy ending. Like, he didn't need to give anything up for her.
Yeah.
She didn't need to give anything up for him. Like, she just went in there and was like, nah, this is done. We're not doing this anymore. Like, he's going to keep working here because he's really good. I'm going to keep doing this because I fucking own the place. Like, and I'm not going to be bullied around by anyone. And I really, like, enjoyed that a lot. And I like that that came from her rather than from him. Because in a lot of other workplace romance style, like, where there's some sort of power dynamic between them, a lot of the time it's the male main character, like, gives something up for the woman. And it was nice for this to be the other way around. Yeah. Neither of them gave anything up, and she was, like, in control of that situation. I was like, I'm not being pushed around. Like, this is how it's going to be because I've just said it is, kind of thing. And so I thought
it was definitely very satisfying.
Yeah, I felt very happy with how that ended, because I was like, oh no, like, he's going to leave and be all, like, noble or some shit, even though he had, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, like, that would have been nice because they still get their happy ending, but it's not, like,
we know that's not what he was happy with.
Yeah, and it's not what I would have wanted. Yeah. I wanted them both to, like, keep what they had, because I think why should they not? You know what I mean? So I was very, very happy with how that was all tied up, because I think I would have been slightly disappointed, I think, if it went another way.
Fair enough.
So that was a pleasant surprise.
Do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so, you know. I mean, unless this is going to just become like a fan club of me talking about how much I love everything about this series and Liz Tomforde and get emotional.
Cut me yawning.
You know.
That was very...
Yeah. Just, you know, get emotional about
it being over.
What
did you think about that? Do you think it was like... Because technically we had a wrap-up from Rio.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, this time we leave Chicago for
For good.
forever.
This is it.
Yeah. How did you think? Do you think that was like a wrapping up the series, or do you still feel of it like very much separated?
I think it felt separate to me because it happens before Rewind It Back, and I could really tell that. Like, it didn't feel like it was happening like afterwards. Like, it does feel after play along. So I've already made my peace with saying goodbye to the characters, to be honest. So I didn't really go through that as much again. Like, I wasn't sobbing, you know, because Rio's speech at the end of Rewind It Back is like a really good goodbye. So I didn't feel like I needed to go through that again because I've already said goodbye. And also I think it helped that not all of the characters are in it.
Yeah.
So obviously Stevie and Xanders are not in it, and neither are Ryan and Indy or Rio and Hallie, because it just wouldn't make sense for them to be in it. Yeah. So, and I'm glad she didn't just try and like shoehorn them in, because why would Monty be with any of them?
They are mentioned though.
They're mentioned, but yeah, I'm glad they weren't put in, because I think that would have made it feel a bit weird, and that would have made it feel like the end again, which doesn't make sense in the timeline that it's supposed to work in.
Yeah.
So I think, it is, again, Liz Tomforde, well done. You just can do it all every time.
Well, speaking about wrapping things up, it's time to wrap up this book club episode.
Yeah, it is time, before I go off on a tangent about all the reasons I love Liz Tomforde.
What are we talking about next week?
Well, do you not want to give your ranking?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, final ranking. What do you have to say? I've actually ranked this one this time.
3.5.
You're joking.
No. It was good. I just don't really think it moved me the way I think I expected to be moved. It was dragging a little bit in the middle. The pacing was a bit off for me, and I kind of expect more feminine rage and feminine struggle, and it was a lot about how they were dealing with it and how they were navigating it.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good.
Olive approved. Okay. Well, I gave it 4.5.
Okay.
Because there were some things in pacing that I didn't love, which meant it didn't like create the same feeling for me. I'm a real rater based on feels, and I don't think it really like got me the way that some of the other books have.
Yeah.
But I think when I was reflecting on it afterwards, like, there are just so many things that are so incredible about the story itself, even if like some of the technicalities were not quite as polished, I think, as some of her other books, and I loved it. I love them. I just think, there was something slightly lacking in my like feeling and my response, my emotional response to them, which is why I didn't give it 5.
Yeah.
So half a star dropped for that. But as I said, I'm a feel reader, so it could have been absolutely trash in terms of like structure, grammar. But like, if I feel things a lot, then that's 5 stars to me. So
you just didn't make me feel things.
Yeah. So there we go. I think that was a really successful book club.
Yeah.
Successful for our first studio usage. Knock wood, when I stopped the recording, this has worked. But can you tell us about our next book club episode? So for April, what are we reading?
Is it we're talking book club, not next episode.
Yeah, book club.
This is The Wings That Bind. It's the 3rd installment from, it's coming out.
It's already out.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, 6.5 is the day when it's going to come out.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it came out.
It confused me. This is 3rd book from the Bloodwing Academy series. They are very, very short, so if you haven't read the previous 2, start doing that.
Yep. We're back in our fantasy era, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and I'm really excited to go back to fantasy, to be honest. So make sure you join the book club on Fable. Remember to be a very active member so that you can win some of our literary Just Told You bookmarks. And what are we talking about next week on our regularly scheduled episode, please?
So this is criminal, but next week we'll be discussing trials and games and books, and the inspiration for that is the Hunger Games, because we have never read Hunger Games. I read the first one. Lex hasn't read any of them.
Yes, because let's not talk about that.
Yeah. So
I will read it before
we're
the
doing
next
our
episode.
homework now.
Yes.
So, but we obviously don't want to just have a book club after book club after book club. And have like basically 2 book club episodes a month. So we try to make it a little bit more fun. So each Hunger Games book will be discussed in a more broad approach, with more
Arena?
broad approach
Yes. Yeah.
than just the book itself. We will
Yeah.
put it in context. There will be some context to each of the books, and so it will
I'm
be
actually
not
quite excited for this because a lot of fantasy books use trial and games.
yeah.
So I think there's so many things that we can talk about, and I'm really excited because so many authors use it as like the entry into like fantasy universes.
World, yeah.
So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to finally read The Hunger Games. I am beating myself up that I've not read it sooner, but there we go. I promise I will get it done between now and then. And no, I'm not even going to say if not, because there is no such thing. I will finish it.
You don't have a choice, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well,
All
on
right
that
then.
note, thank you so much for joining us on our very first video footage episode. Can't believe it. We're like real podcasters now. Well, okay. On that note, love you. Bye.